Zap English, listening.
Level 2, Unit 6, City Life.
This Real English Listening podcast accompanies the ebook that you can download at zapenglish.com.
In this unit, you're going to develop your listening skills around the topic of cities. You'll hear conversations and debates, as well as individual speakers. Let's get started. Listening Task 1. In the first recording, you're going to hear descriptions of two cities. One city is Vancouver, and one city is Bangkok. Match a speaker to a city.
I've heard the city described as honest. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's pure. The city is chock full of temples, and maybe some of the most beautiful temples I've ever seen in the world. It also has a sky train that runs throughout the city that connects one part of the city all throughout different parts of the city. The city is not clean. It's very dirty, and it's exhausting to be there. But it's certainly a city that I think everyone should see.
There's a city that I'm thinking about right now, which is known as having one of the most beautiful harbors in the world. So you can go to the beach, you can swim, you can boat, you can kayak, canoe, all kinds of water sports you can do in this city. At the same time, this city also has mountains close to it, and these mountains have snow on the top of them right into June, so people can very easily go up the lifts and go skiing almost any time. Maybe 2 or 3 months of the year you cannot ski, so they have skiing. A very famous ski resort is close to this city. What else can you do in this city? Well, it's a world-class city because people have moved there in droves from all around the world. So you have a huge Chinese population, a huge Indian population. Lots of Latin people live there too. So it's a very vibrant dance city. Theater, dance, the arts, all of these things are right at the top level. What else have we got?
Listening Task 1. Answers. So, did you guess which speaker was speaking about which city? The first speaker was Nicholas. He was speaking about Bangkok. The second speaker was Sybil. She was speaking about Vancouver. Listening Task 2. Which do you think is better? Living in the countryside or living in a city? You're going to hear a conversation where people answer this question. Do you agree with what they say? So we are sitting in a cafe in a city in Barcelona. What do you prefer? You both live here in a city, so do you prefer living in a city to the countryside? And if so, why?
I'm half and half. I love the countryside and I love the city, and I need to be near both, I think. I couldn't live miles from a city.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be in a city all the time and not be able to get into nature. Luckily in Barcelona it's very easy to get to green places or
It is quite a green city in lots of ways, isn't it? How about you? City man?
Yes, I like greenery as well also, so in Bristol, where we're from.
Yeah.
We're about the same distance from the centre as we are from parks and lots of green hills. So it's about 20 minutes from where we used to live.
You could walk and be in the woods, be in fields and by the river. So
you kind of like to have the best of both worlds.
Absolutely.
Then. I'm a bit like that. I always think that I want to go and live in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
but then it can get a bit boring in the middle of nowhere.
I think I would be bored quite quickly if I couldn't have some city life as well.
Yeah. But I always think, whenever I go live in a city, I always go thinking, oh, brilliant, I'll be able to go to all the art galleries and the museums and there'll be so much to do.
Yeah.
The problem is, when you live in a city, you're always so busy, you never have time to do any of that stuff.
That's true. But, well, living in Barcelona, luckily, lots of friends and family come to visit us, and then we do end up doing some of those things with visitors, which is nice.
Yeah. So thumbs up for the city over the countryside generally.
Maybe for now. Maybe when we're a bit older, we'll retire to the country.
Listening task 2. Answers. Well, our speakers Kim and Alec seem to prefer the city, although they like the countryside sometimes, just not to live in all the time. Listening task 3. Do you have a favourite city? In this last task, people tell us about their favourite city in the world and why it's their favourite. Do you hear anybody talk about these things? History, buildings, clothes, trains.
I believe if I had to choose one city, which to me is the quintessentially beautiful city, and it probably sounds, very commonplace, but it is Paris. When I walk through the streets of Paris, I want to memorize the architecture of every building and have it just engraved in my memory, because everything is just so beautiful. And the French have a way of dressing that they have a chicness to them. I think it's in their DNA. They just know how to wind a scarf around their neck in a way that nobody else manages to know how to do. So yes, it would be Paris. And another city that I love is New York, where I lived for 13 years. And New York is a high energy city of excitement with the best and the worst of everything. And it's another wonderful city. And like Paris, it's rich with culture and diversity. And the main difference between Paris and New York are languages. In New York, when you walk down neighborhoods, you hear many different languages. But in Paris, it is only French. So those are my cities. And of course, my home now in Chiang Mai is just a lovely, charming, special place to be. So I feel very fortunate.
My favorite city in the world, I guess my favorite would be Jerusalem, which is in Israel. The old city of Jerusalem especially is just so much history throughout the ages, and culture and religion and different ethnic groups that are all mixed up. But it's not a city that I would want to live in. I guess just because of all the problems that you hear about nowadays on the news still. So in terms of a city that I would love to live in as a favorite city, there are actually a couple. So surprisingly enough, one of them would be the capital of Yemen, which is a small country in Arabia. The capital city is called Sana'a, and it's just the most beautiful. Again, the old city is just the most beautiful city. It's actually made of mud brick houses, adobe houses. It just has so much character and charm. And another city that I would actually like to live in, well, would have liked to live in, is Damascus in Syria. Although again, because if you're following the news and all the problems that have been going on there for the past couple of years, it's probably not the greatest place to move to. But in terms of the old city, it just has such wonderful character and charm. And it's a bit like Jerusalem, because it has lots of different quarters and different kinds of people living there. Yeah, those are the cities that I would love to live in if they were livable.
That's a hard question to answer. What is my favorite city in the world? Because there's so many that have different special things. In the United States, I think my favorite city is San Francisco. It's a beautiful city with the wharf, the fisherman's wharf, and the ferry boats that go across, and then the whole country up above it in the north and the hills. It's really very, very beautiful all along the ocean there. Golden Gate Bridge. It's a very sophisticated city. It's just fun to be able to go there and walk around. I like cities that you can walk around in. I haven't been there for many, many years, but I still have many memories of Paris that it was so fascinating walking around there, and every corner you turned was just something beautiful. European cities are so beautiful because of the buildings. It's just amazing. I loved Florence, and I loved the cities in Italy. Venice is incredible, even if it may be sinking. You get on a ferry, there's no cars, and most of it, and you have to take a ferry down the canals around, and the buildings are beautiful. It was very, very exciting to be there. The food is excellent. So big cities are really, really fun because they've got good food and lots of culture and exciting things happening and beautiful things to look at. But I also, my dream house was the little log cabin. So I like both the country and cities.
Listening task 3. Answers. So, lots of very interesting cities there. Did anyone talk about history? Yes, Mike talked about the history in Jerusalem. Did anyone talk about buildings? Yes, Ronnie talked about how beautiful the buildings are in Paris. Mike talked about mud houses in Yemen. And Sandra talked about beautiful buildings in Paris and Florence. Did anyone talk about clothes? Yes, Ronnie talked about how the French wear their clothes very stylishly. And what about trains? No, no one talked about trains. We've heard about places all around the world, and you've had the opportunity to practice your listening skills and review some useful vocabulary on this topic. Great!
Remember, there are some extra tasks to help develop your listening in the accompanying ebook from zappinglish.com. Thank you for listening. Bye!